Let's see if you can see I'm pregnant and holding antidepressants at the same time. I don't know how to get this thumbnail. 36 weeks pregnant tomorrow. Today I want to talk about antidepressants and pregnancy. I can't wait to see the trolls. For a little context, whenever I vlog about antidepressants, specifically when I talk about mental health resources, I get a lot more negative comments than any other videos I make. I'm making this video because it's really, really important to me that other women, other people who may become pregnant know that it is okay to be on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication while pregnant, and that I want those people to be brave and ask questions, because I almost got myself in like a really bad place by not doing that, by just assuming that no doctor would let me stay on antidepressants while pregnant, and that is simply not true. So let me tell you about my story with pregnancy and antidepressants. I have been on antidepressants for the past 5 years, and they have really, really helped me. I'm taking 50 milligrams of Zoloft, aka sertraline, and 150 milligrams of bupropion, aka Wellbutrin. But like many people, I've also struggled with that feeling of, oh, maybe if I just like try a little harder, I won't have to use them. Maybe it was just like a temporary fix. And so there's been a couple times throughout those 5 years where I've tried to go off of them, and typically it hasn't gone well. Another significant time I went off them was this last April, which is when Casey and I started trying to get pregnant. And basically my rationale was, oh, it's just 9 months, I'll be fine. I'll be so happy about the baby. It'll be fine if I don't have this, like, you know, raised floor of depression, levelized floor of depression that I've become accustomed to. I'll just tough it through it. It'll be fine, because I don't want, you know, anything to risk hurting the baby. I want to be a pure vessel. And stupidly, I made this decision without consulting anyone, like my therapist or my psychiatrist or my OBGYN. And anyone who's pregnant watching this, I hope you're just like smiling knowingly, because pregnancy is a very emotional time, even when there's not a reason for you to be emotional. Like, your body is prioritizing this baby, which means like all your stuff kind of goes haywire, and it's just up and down, because all the resources of your body are going towards the baby, which is great. Pregnancy, procreation, it's a wonderful thing. It's also very aggressive, which means you might suffer while your baby is fine. So starting my pregnancy without antidepressants was, in hindsight, a really poor decision that got kind of pretty scary about 4 months into it. Casey and I were trying for about 6 weeks. I was not on antidepressants during that whole time. I just kind of quit cold turkey. We got pregnant within 6 weeks. We were so excited. I was feeling good, and I was like, oh, it's okay that I went off antidepressants. In hindsight, I now understand that I was getting more and more depressed during my first trimester of pregnancy. I wasn't really aware of that though, because I just was like, well, I'm nauseous all the time. Of course I'm gonna feel terrible emotionally. But what became alarming was at about 11 weeks, when my body started feeling better, my brain started feeling worse and worse. I just got really, really, really depressed. And it was very weird, because I knew I was reaching the period that I was like waiting for so long to feel physically better, and the depression was just like nose diving down. It was just getting worse and worse. So I just remember lying in bed and being unable to get up and move, and just crying, not in that like sobbing way or like crying at something, but just this kind of like slow, like leaking tears crying. And it was really weird, because it was this strange sensory flashback to 5 years ago, about when I was so depressed that I finally like talked to my mom and talked to like my family doctor growing up, and that's when I got on antidepressants. Like, this was a new level of depression, and like it was getting worse, and I realized like if I didn't do something, this depression was going to get worse than even where I was at before I went on antidepressants in the first place 5 years ago, which was not a good time for me. It was very scary. At the time that this happened, my mom was visiting, and I kind of just like couldn't hide it from her, which is really hard for me. I get very embarrassed when I'm that sad because I'm usually so bubbly and able to just like be pleasant and there for other people. And I went to therapy and just broke down, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, and she was like, do you want to go back on your antidepressants? And I was like, is that allowed? And she was like, yes. She was like, yes. And I was like, I don't know who to talk to. I don't have a psychiatrist right now because I like let it lapse or whatever. I just canceled my appointments. And she was like, I think you should talk to your OBGYN. So this was right around the time that I was actually transferring to a new OBGYN office. Just one that was kind of a better fit for us. So at this new doctor's office, I was really nervous. You know, I was doing like filling out an intake form, and I wrote on there that I, struggled with depression. And so the physician's assistant, who is amazing, was like, so you have depression? Like, how's that been? And I said, honestly, like, not good. And like, I think she could tell that I was like, there was a lot more behind that than just not good. And she was like, has it been bad? And I was like, yeah, it's been really bad. And she was like, are you taking anything? And I said, no, I went off when we started trying because I just assumed I shouldn't be on them if I got pregnant. And she was like, no, it's okay to be on them. And then she said, do you want to go back on them? And I said, yes. And that was that. And she, took like just 10 minutes to kind of talk me through it, how the FDA like came down very hard on antidepressants and like warning pregnant women to stay away from them. And that while that's good, because like it's good that the FDA is very conservative with like what they recommend, it's just like it's hard because what doesn't get as much publicity is when the FDA starts to make statements about like, hey, like it's actually okay, or when doctors are like, from these studies it's actually, there's no scientific support that antidepressants lead to birth defects or lead to anything that could affect the baby negatively. If anything, it seems depressed women who are untreated often go into labor like early, like kind of early to the point of causing complications. Anyway, so I went home, she gave me a prescription. I had the prescription. I didn't start taking them for about 4 days because I was still attached to this kind of like perfectionist idea of like being a pure vessel, having my body be this like clean, pristine thing for my baby. And then I just kind of got to a point where I knew it was what I needed to do. And what helped me get to the point where I finally started retaking my antidepressants was the thought, I don't want my son's mother to suffer like this. And it just helped me give myself that compassion I needed to be like, my son deserves a mother who is not miserable, who is not hating waking up every morning because she's upset that she has to do this thing called life again. So that when I went back on the antidepressants, because I'd been off of them for like 4 months, I was really, really scared that the meds like weren't gonna work. Like that maybe my body had changed so much during the pregnancy that like going off of them, my body wouldn't respond the way I'd hoped they would to the antidepressants. But very happy to say that, yeah, within a week, I really started noticing improvement in my overall mood and mental health. And within 2 weeks, I felt like myself again. And it was really, 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 really nice to just like be able to be the person I deserve to be. I have every right to be, which is just able to be happy and able to like have a like floor of depression that's not like way down here, but like, one that's manageable. Anyway, I just wanted to share that story because I had no idea that there were OBGYNs that were supportive of antidepressants, and like the more I looked into it, it's like it's actually real okay. But just I feel like women in general are so hard on themselves, and when you're pregnant you kind of feel under a microscope because like literally you're going to the doctor every month and then every 2 weeks and then every week. And so like they're looking at your blood, they're examining you, they're weighing you, they're looking at your blood pressure, like you feel very under a microscope. And then socially you feel very under a microscope because every time you look at the internet there's another article about like what you shouldn't be doing. You should be eating this and and use this kind of seatbelt when you're pregnant, and like you could just like go bankrupt trying to be the perfect mom, and you could also exhaust yourself and become really miserable and self-hating. So yeah, it's just really important to take care of yourself, and if it's hard to think of it that way, you can think of it, it's really important to take care of your baby's home, where that little baby's gonna be growing and living for 9 months. So yeah, it feels good, and like it was a hard decision to make, but I feel really good about it, and I feel really good that my son's mom is happy. Also, another point, the physician's assistant, who was the one who like, you know, talked me through getting back on antidepressants, what she said was, you know, and also like she's like, I really would feel good about you being on antidepressants again, especially because women with depression are just more prone to even worse depression during postpartum. And she was like, so it's really good to like be ahead of that and like managing it through the pregnancy. And then she just said, and also like it's just hard enough as is, like the whole experience is hard enough as is, like you don't need to suffer any extra. And so that was really really nice to hear. So I just wanted to share that story, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of trolls. If you're reading the comments, please don't let them get to you. I'm gonna also try to take that advice and not let them get to me. Oh, the other puppies are back from their walk. Anyway, I will talk to you soon. If you have positive antidepressant stories and mental health resources stories that have helped your life, I'd love to hear them below. I hope you have a great day, great week. I hope that if you are sad and in pain and hurting, you know that you absolutely deserve someone to talk to and support. And I know it's a pain to get set up with a therapist or a psychiatrist to get those resources, but if I can tell you anything, I really believe it's 100% worth it. So yeah, hope this video finds you well, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Love you guys. Bye. A new vlogging camera. I'm very excited about. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. Also, hair tie trick my therapist told me about, because these overalls are not maternity overalls, but they fit thanks to these two hair ties. One of my favorite things about this camera is it makes it very easy to vlog from bed because it's just a tiny camera. Hey, puppy.